Hey y'all, I'm Rare Sam, and this is one of my movie reviews. This is DVD number 4 in the Norman Wisdom collection, and this one is called Press for Time. This one I have a lot to say about. This was an interesting one, and once again, Norman changes his last name like he does in the rest of the films. Now he's Norman Shields, and he's the grandson of the Prime Minister of England. That's kind of cool. For his profession, he starts off as a mere newspaper boy selling the paper next to a train station, but eventually his grandfather gets him a job in Teignmouth. And that's where this really super cool newspaper editorial is. And he starts off as a mere writer, and then he goes to a council meeting and causes chaos, and then he gets promoted to the politics writer, and that causes chaos. So yeah, most of this movie is just Norman causing chaos, no matter what position in the editorial he's in. But it's deeper than that, because you have the head of the editorial and the mayor's husband. The mayor is a woman, and they are fighting over who gets to be, like, I don't know, the prime minister or something like that. And they have these big events planned, but they all get canceled, and eventually Norman is the one who causes the chaos that ruins it. Yeah. And eventually he does get fired, but he also sort of puts them in their place in the process. It's one of those moments where the complete idiot of the movie has a big speech that sort of ends the conflict. And Norman Wisdom, I've noticed, is that kind of actor. plays a complete stupid. He plays complete fools, as he's known to say, who end up fixing everything in the end. It's kind of like Christopher Lloyd in his recent roles. As Norman Wisdom films go, there's nothing really in this film that the other three haven't done yet. And it was different when all it took was a speech from Norman to get the conflict resolved. I mean, in the Early Bird, the conflict was resolved by a big climax where he's mistaking everything. This, it actually took a real heartfelt speech, and that was different. And actually, every physically comedic mishap that he caused in this film ended better than I thought. So that's good. They made him a little more coordinated. I don't know. That was all right, I guess. I also noticed that the conflicts in this film are a little bit more realistic. Like in One Good Turn, you had the orphanage being bought. In the Early Bird, you had the milk companies competing for who should have the higher business. And in the Bulldog breed, it was just Norman trying and failing to be an army man. But here, one issue that they talked about was women's rights. It is revealed in this film that Norman Shields' mother was a suffragette, and that was something that was really talked about at the time of these movies. Like, this one was in color, so it was probably the 60s by then. So yeah, women's rights were really starting to get noticed by then. So I think this film added a splash of reality that the others missed. So that was interesting. And also, one other thing that this film did that the other three did not was that there was a love triangle. In the other films, you would have seen Norman try and fail to get himself a woman, but here it's a love triangle. He's in love with one woman who doesn't love him, but then there's another girl who is in love with him, but he doesn't seem to notice. And eventually he takes the girl who's in love with him. And I thought that was really cool, and especially considering the girl who was in love with him was actually adorable. And the other girl that he did like was kind of unlikable. And there's really not much else to say about it. I mean, And I mean, there's chaos, there's physical comedy, there's Norman Wisdom acting like Norman Wisdom. But it's still nice to watch, especially with the love triangle parts. If I were to pick any comedic moment that I consider my favorite, I think it would be the scene where the girl that Norman is actually in love with takes him to this council meeting, and that's where he first causes chaos, and the chaos happens because he's drunk. And then right after that, a drunken Norman is in the girl's house drinking coffee, trying to sober up, and he's just like, he's like, I mean, that's how you know how a drunk comedian acts. He's up and dancing, singing with a slur. I mean, it's like, oh god, it's so much, but it's funny. Yeah, that's my favorite comedy part. Yeah, but other than that, any scene with Norman and the cute girl that's in love with him are my favorites. And another big change is that any of the chaotic moments don't happen on a train or a boat or anything that travels. There are a couple of scenes where he's struggling on a boat or a train, but those are not any major plot points. They're just cash-ins because people want to see that in a Norman Wisdom movie. If there is any chaotic transportation scene, it's the one where Norman thinks that somebody has stolen his bike, and he goes on this bus to chase after the guy, and it leads to this hilarious chaotic chase scene. But it eventually turns out that the bike was not stolen. It wasn't even Norman's, and he got the bus thrown over a pier for nothing. So this film did have some changes from what I've been seeing in the last few movies, but it is also kind of formulaic with the other three in a way, if you know what I mean. If you don't know what I'm saying, just watch everything I said before. You'll get it. So, thank you guys for watching. I hope you enjoy. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. And I see y'all later. Bye.